Yo, what is up? It's your boy RJ in the building, and today we are going over a switching guide. Now, this is just basic. A lot of people think like switching isn't really a prominent thing to do in connections. Well, I'm going to show you that through this video that it is very, very prominent. It is very different to Stormfall, and so you can't expect to in this game to switch like if it's Stormfall, right? Because the switching mechanic as a whole has been changed in my opinion, for the better. So this is a session I did with somebody that I was teaching as well. So I was teaching and was primarily focusing on switching as the already was pretty good regarding everything else and across the board in that sense. So it was focusing on switching, and I thought, you know what, why not record it and show it to you guys, and because maybe it can help everyone else as well. So without further ado, I don't want to talk much more, but let's dive into the video and make sure to like and subscribe while you're here. Compared to you see how in Storm 4 people used to like switch all the time, like for everything, right? Exactly. So they had four switches like immediate, so they would just switch, switch, switch. You switch tech at all times. In this game, they've lessened the amount of times you can switch, but they've actually buffed the actual switch mechanic, right? So for that reason, switching has priority over jutsu. There are some jutsus that can be a little problematic, but 99% of jutsus it can go through. And it's good for guard pressure and even in the air as well. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit you a few times. I want you to just sub and then dash me. Yeah? You see that? They gave the air switch the properties of the grounded switch. So for that reason, right, if you have a very mashy playstyle, using blue dash is actually a very good way to kind of be defensive while still on the mash. Does that make sense? Because if you was to do a jutsu on the floor, like let's say I'm Sasuke, you mash me, and then blue dash when I sub, yeah, you're just gonna kill me every time. Even if I get this out, you're just gonna go straight through the fireball, so it doesn't matter. Do you see what I'm saying? So you kind of want to use your switching. You want to pick and choose when you use your switching, basically, because that's defensive reasons, right? That you can use it. At the same time, you can also use switching offensively. For example, if I have you in a guard pressure, right? In this game, dashing does the most damage to a guard. They took a note from Demon Slayer, right? And this includes blue dashing, right? So layering your attack can actually break a guard in this game, right? Like it's like full breaker guard. Before when you did it in Storm 4, you know how it didn't break, it would just get low unless you did Chakra Kunai. In this game, it can actually break if you do it right. So now if you layer attack at certain parts, I do it with Sasuke, you can actually, that's all the jail. They can't counter. When he throws down the pillars, you want to basically switch before, like just as he throws down the pillars. There you go. And it will break every time. So you can use it for guard pressure as well. Obviously, you can use it like normal in the switching. But how you gotta be, where you gotta think about, right, is um, do you want to use it aggressively like that, where you can break a guard immediately, or because if you do it like that, then you no longer have it for the defensive switch that I was talking about. You see what I'm saying? What the switch is doing is it's giving me a guaranteed guard break. So if I catch you on no subs or one sub, for example, and I have a switch, you're done. Like I'm gonna catch you, right? Whereas if I don't use the switch, then it's kind of going like I now have to mix you, if that makes sense. So a lot of people, what they will do is they will kind of they'll call a support like this, and then they'll kind of go from there. But then it's like, but what's the point of doing that? Because Ishiki is on a longer cooldown now. Whereas if I switch, my support's gonna come back even faster if I switch. You see what I'm saying? For that reason, why would I not do a blue dash? Because if I do a blue dash, for example, right, or whatever, Sasuke is gonna come back hella fast. So I'm gonna get Sasuke to come back within like 3 seconds, and he's back. So in that 3 second gap, I don't have Sasuke, but if I use him normally, right, then he's gone for like 10 seconds. It's okay to use a blue dash, but at the right time, if that makes sense. You don't want to. It's like it's the same thing with like the air switch and stuff. It's okay to do those things, but sometimes depending on how the match is going, you might want to prioritize. Maybe okay, but let's prioritize using it for defense, or okay, let's prioritize. I can use it a bit in guard pressure here because he's a very passive player. He's not like, for example, if you're fighting against me, right? You know, when I was using my full range team, I'm obviously not going to be mashing you too much. I'm going to be playing more neutral. So for that reason, doing the blue dash or doing this or doing the air one isn't going to be as prominent because I'm not trying to dash you. I'm not trying to be aggressive. So for that reason, you might go, okay, I'm going to use my switching a bit more aggressively, but use my supports more defensively against this guy because he's playing more neutral rather than being mashy. Whereas if you're playing someone who's just hella mashy, just wants to go in and mash you, then that's when you can use the defense with the switching instead. So it's about, you have to be adaptable to your opponent depending on how you want to use the switching. For example, what I like to do is I'll go into air combo and I'll switch here just in case because some people like to switch at the end. And if they don't switch at the end, I can still combo after if I need to. So, but also for switching as well, if you ever have a character that has a long support cooldown, which is quite a few characters now, you can use switching to kind of exploit that specific jutsu. If you do the jutsu and then switch into them, you will still get the long cooldown, right? The only way that you won't get the long cooldown is if you switch, not is if you switch without the jutsu. You have to switch into the person, not already when they're doing a jutsu to get the fast cooldown. So what you want to do, right, is if you're playing somebody with a long cooldown, let's say you're playing Naruto with the clones, right, because he takes long to come back, you want to kind of, you can still use them as a support, like just the calling and firm the long cooldown, that's fine. But what you also want to do is maybe you can find a creative way to switch into him, play as him, and then jutsu switch off of him. So you get the clones, you go in, and then he's gonna come back real fast, and then you can use him as a support. So you're kind of getting like two for the price of one almost. You see what I'm saying? So abusing the clones like that is also a good thing to do. Like because if you because any all the jutsus with a long cooldown are usually strong jutsus. Hagoroma's jutsu, Ashura's, they're usually good jutsus. So if you can get them twice for the price of one long cooldown, it's a W.